Welcome, everyone. It's 9 o'clock, so I will call our March meeting of the regular county council meeting to order. At this time, I'll call on Vice Chair Ms. Anderson for our Pledge of Allegiance and prayer.
I need 1 second. I had the prayer up and I'm ready. Thank you. Okay, pray with me, please. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name. May we be true to the civic responsibility entrusted to us. May our abilities measure up to the issues before us. Help us to be thorough in our investigations and factual in our presentations. Give us insight without oversight, discernment without distortion, fairness without favoritism. Give us strength to stand tall even if alone, for it is better to fail in something right than win in something wrong. Guide us this meeting and remind us that all we do here will be reviewed in the council halls of the last day. May we be led to wise decisions and right actions on behalf of our entire county as we move forward with our meeting. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we adopt the agenda, I'm going to call on Mr. Ruffin.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding that agenda item 18A, which was to enter an executive session to discuss employment, appointment, compensation, et cetera, regarding employees, that there is no need for that today. So that can be struck from the agenda, and there's no special action required to do that, unlike adding something to the agenda. But we will strike that from the agenda for today.
Thank you, Mr. Ruffin. We need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Conklin, second by Curtis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. I trust everyone has had a time to look over the minutes of the last meeting. If there are no corrections or additions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Burns, second by this young man over here that's doing so good, and we are really, really excited to have these two new guys on our council. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. The bonds, I think, are going around to be signed. So we move down to item 6, the appointments. Mr. Don Strickland. Mr. Strickland, with the PD Regional Transportation Authority, Executive Director. Come on up, Mr. Strickland.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you all for giving me a few minutes to come and talk to you, and certainly look forward to this opportunity, and just want to share a little bit. I don't know how much time I have, but I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. First off, I want to thank our previous board member, Mr. Miller here, and Ms. Hattie Burns is our most current for Chesterfield County, and two of the most dependable people I know as far as what our board looks like. So I want to thank them, and thank you for the appointments. But so PDRTA, we've been doing a lot of things in recent years and a lot of growth. And so at one point, we got out of the Medicaid business over a decade ago, which caused us to shrink down to 2 counties. And in the past 4 or 5 years, we've actually reintroduced bus service in all 6 counties that we serve, which is Chesterfield County, Marlboro County, Dillon, Darlington, Marion, and Florence County. So pretty big service area. And I've been with the agency for 15 years, been in this role now for just over 4. And you know, just things are certainly changing. And one thing that we're doing a lot more of now is workforce transportation. And I know that, you know, based on the conversations I've had with economic development and other folks in Chesterfield County, that is a concern with the workforce. And obviously, I want to kind of share a proposal for us. We're running currently in Sherrall with connections from Bennettsville to Sherrall, and those routes are doing well over there. But we said, you know, 2 years ago when we started that service that we got to be able to, to make it countywide. And that's kind of why I'm here, is to have that conversation and share just a few plans with you real quick. Provided a slide deck here, and I'll just run through them. But basically, on that third slide within your PowerPoint, if you have that there with you, 44% of everybody that steps onto a PDRTA bus right now, they're either going to or going from work. And we're approaching 400,000 trips a year. So it's a lot of folks going to and from work. So that's becoming more and more of our main focus is workforce transportation. We currently are doing a lot with Harbor Freight Tools in Dillon County, and we're currently having conversations with Performance Foods, Reese Foods, Niagara Bottling in Florence. So there's QVC, Otis Elevators, a lot of different entities that we're right now having conversations with about routes that we're planning to do this year in 2023. And in fact, April 10th, we are beginning a route that will cover the PD Commerce Center, which is where a lot of those businesses are that I'm talking about. So basically, a lot of times the services start out with door-to-door service, picking up the employees from their homes, taking them to work every day and back home. But then we take that information, excuse me, and all the data, we're able to build fixed routes to be able to cover that in the future. So it's just, a lot of change, along in that slide deck. Let me see if I can get this one to come up. It's not. Okay. Not only did my printer quit this morning, but the laptop's froze. So we'll wing it. So 44% are going to work. We do a lot of medical trips. We do a lot of educational purposes. Right now in Chesterfield County, over in Sherrall, we're doing a lot with Northeastern Tech, Florence Darlington Tech, Francis Marion University. We have trips with them. About 20% of our ridership are going to and from school every day. And like I said, we're in Sherrall now. The plans will be to be able to have service, excuse me, from Jefferson to Pageland, Mount Croghan, Ruby, Chesterfield, with connections all the way to Sherrall. And being able to tie in workforce along with essential services. So someone trying to get to dialysis 3 times a week, they'll be able to do that using our services. The proposal that kind of shares a cost, for kind of what we're looking at is pretty much 8 round trips a day in each one of those communities. So the idea is that we're not leaving really any area. That will be helpful. Thank you so much. Sorry, let's figure out where we're at here. All right, let's just pick up. I'm sorry, y'all. We'll pick up right here with the slide deck. So 81%. I mentioned 400,000 trips earlier. 81% of those folks. We survey every year across our entire system. 81% say they do not have access to a car. Remember, I said 44% are going to and from work every day. 81% say they do not have access to a car. Within that, 20% say they do have access to one vehicle. What happens is you have multiple individuals in a home, maybe one vehicle. That person goes to work earlier in the morning or later in the day, and they need that vehicle, so it leaves other folks stranded. And then 7% say they have 2 or more. And then 5% say they have, 7% has 2, 5% has 2 or more vehicles in their home. So those are always interesting slides. And then the next one is kind of where I was heading to earlier with the proposal itself. I'll run through this. I know that would be that slide there with some costs. But basically, the services that we're potentially looking to provide will run about 6,160 hours of service. And with that, you see the unit cost. This is a 2 variable approach to PDRTA. So we operate as a nonprofit. Basically, we have access to federal funds. 67% of what we do is covered on the federal side, and we have to have access to local funds in order to be able to draw down those federal funds. And by local, we'll talk about that more in just a second, but basically our cities, counties, our industries, our businesses, medical providers, educational institutions, all of those is considered local support. So our goal, and it has been now for the past 4 or 5 years, is that we're not coming to one entity to try to fund half of our services. We're trying to spread that load among, anywhere from 10 to 20 different sources. Excuse me, 6,160 miles of service and 6,160 hours of service, 120,520 miles of service. And because of the two variable analysis that we use in our accounting process, we come up with a unit cost. And then those numbers are, pushed over to the right. And then when the indirect percentage there, that covers things like insurance and, just a lot of different working components, whenever we print our schedules, and just a number of things fall in that category. But, so the total proposed that we're looking to add to Chesterfield County, this is on top of what we're already doing in Sherrall. The total will be $485,000 in federal funds, in total net cost. 67% of that will be $325,000, which is covered by federal funds. So a large portion is covered by federal funds. And then basically, the state mass transit funds, those are passed down through SCDOT. Over the years, there's been more hands in that pot, and the pot's not really increasing because that's based on a quarter penny of gas tax. So we have programmed 20,000 of that. It may be a little bit more, but it's, that's the number we're probably looking at. And once we factor in the 20,000 there, basically it leaves about $135,000 in local funds needed to do nearly $500,000 of service. Now, this model is similar to what we're doing in Marlboro County. We have services all through Bennettsville, McCall, Clio, Blenheim, and right now we're anywhere between 3,500 to 4,000 trips a month in Marlboro County. And that's folks going to work, they're going to, medical appointments across the board. So this is going to be similar just based on miles and hours. That's really everything we do, it comes back to miles and hours. So nearly $500,000 in actual bus service, but we need about $135,000 locally to be able to pull that off. So, we'll be looking, one of the main things we have to do is we do need to get buy-in from local municipalities. I'm going to Jefferson next month, or this month, it's in March, to talk to their council, Pageland, and, just try to speak to each one of them. I know that I've met with Pageland a couple of times and this past year, and they're very excited about the possibility. And it was interesting because the one thing Pageland was concerned about was getting folks from Jefferson to their industries. And, but each one of these areas, we basically would have fixed route service within the city. And then we'd have connecting across the different towns and communities. And then on top of that, we have demand response service. So if someone lives within 3/4 of a mile and they are in a wheelchair or a walker, we actually are required by federal law to be able to go to their home, pick them up, take them wherever they need to get to along that fixed route. And then demand response. So, some of the industry will look to do, obviously, partnership with them early on. So having some conversations. I do envision, if we can work this out to where we're able to start working toward the local funding piece, we could have services, some of these services running later in 2023. It takes about 6 months for us to be able to really plan out well, have our public input, work with industries to be able to have something in place. And obviously, we'd start out with first shift, most likely, and then from there, we could transition to potentially cover more, like your second shift, and even go beyond that. But on that next slide, I have some stuff written here. Basically, this really is kind of the big picture idea, and it will be services that would cover Jefferson, Pageland, Mount Croghan, Ruby, Chesterfield, and Sherrall, with connectivity among all. And then we know that we're already crossing county lines when it comes to Marlboro County. We can easily see the need to be able to reach other counties as well. And let's see, the workforce piece, I mentioned covering that first shift, but that's something that, we know that can transition and can do well. We're doing well with Harbor Freight right now, actually covering first and now second shift as of just a couple months ago. One more interesting piece, and it's down toward the bottom, is van pool services. We recently partnered with another entity that actually provides van pool services. Their vehicles, we help with training the operators, and would they be able to, if, let's say that at the Walmart DC, if 7 or 8 employees, lived in the Chesterfield area and they wanted to go to work every day, one driver would be the main driver of the route, would actually pick up 6 or 7 employees, take them to work. And typically, we'd put in a pretty good amount, but if Walmart would also match that, technically the employee could ride fare free, but if not, the driver would still ride fare free, and the other passengers would pay a small fee to be able to get to and from work. But the one concept with that, a lot of folks, they want flexibility. So if you have small kids in school and you're boarding the bus in Chesterfield going to Page and going wherever, and you get a call from the school that your kid, fell on the playground or hurt themselves, they want to know that there's something there. So what we're doing is we're offering a guaranteed ride home program for that. And basically, we have another dedicated driver and a van. So if that person does get that call, if someone is in a situation, we go midday, pick them up from their work. They don't have to wait on that van pull service. We'll take them back, back to the school. If they need to go from the school to the hospital, we'll make that trip as well to get them there. And then once they're done there, we'll take them back home. And so it is an expensive service. It's something, we don't foresee happening every day. Fortunately, we couldn't do it if it were to happen that way, but it is there for backup. And, that's going to be the one thing that will probably entice people to be able to use it, is knowing that there's that flexibility, that if they have an emergency situation, we'd be there to help them out. And then other than that, we have demand response. Patrick is one area I think that would be covered well with demand response service. And they would call us the day ahead of time if they needed to come to the doctor or wherever they needed, the grocery store, whatever the appointment may be. We go to Patrick, pick them up on that scheduled trip, and then bring them, to their destination to shop or buy groceries or do whatever they needed, and then take them back home. And so we'd be able to cover, like I said, all of Chesterfield County, and that is the goal of kind of what we're talking about. I foresee anywhere from 6 to 8 drivers being hired from Chesterfield County. We would be spending a lot of fuel in Chesterfield County, so the local economic impact, would be something to consider. And I was talking with Economic Development a couple weeks ago. Because of our proximity from Florence all the way here in our main office, we would probably have to look to having some sort of satellite office again in this area. It wouldn't have to be anything major. It could be just maybe partnering with another public entity or someone to where basically we have a dispatcher or two, and they will be like our backup drivers in the case for like that van pool program to be a guaranteed ride home. And, we could obviously pay utilities or whatever else what the expenses would be as far as a lease or a rental. But that's kind of the direction that, I feel like kind of makes sense after having quite a few conversations in Chesterfield County. And, obviously every county that we serve, the county supports what we're doing. The other 5 counties that we're involved in now, they are supporting the public services to some extent. Obviously those vary depending on the county. And then we get the towns and cities involved. And by the time we're there, we started working on industry and different businesses. Even grocery stores and banks are now local partners. And I believe I did have a slide in here that kind of just gave you an idea. That next slide just gives you a rough example. This is not all of them, but this slide here kind of gives you an idea of some of the local partners that allow us to be able to reach that need of $130,000. So if you're able to get 10 or 15 partners to the table, it makes the lift a little bit easier.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Strickland? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so MACB is certainly can be in the mix. I've spent some time there, and because of proximity to Hartsville, that's one question I do have for Chesterfield County is when you look at workforce, I would like to know the percentages on, how many are coming toward, the Jefferson, Page, and Chesterfield area, and how many are going the opposite way. Because the conversations I've had so far, and maybe they weren't with the right people, they said the majority are going in the other direction. If that's not the case, then MACB will be a player with this. And we would be, be able to bring those folks this way as well. Okay. Matt can certainly be a part of the conversation. And with that, you know, I can certainly have. Yes, sir. Yeah. I appreciate you, but no, Matt B will certainly be.
Any other
Part of that
councilperson have any questions? No, we thank you for bringing this information, and we'll pass this through the proper channels.
Okay, and in fact, one more thing, I didn't come with an official ask for the county. It's more of a conversation piece, and I'd like to, obviously, we got a lot of work to do to be able to move forward, but I wanted to just let you all know kind of the direction that we feel like we need to be in. This is the one area that we're not serving out of 6 counties, so we want to make sure that we're looking to do what's the best for the people of the county.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Next appointment, Reverend Johnny McClendon. I don't see Reverend McClendon. Okay, we'll move down to public comments. Does anyone wish to address council?
All right, it's been a while since I've given you the big update in Pageland. It's kind of laying low there for a while, but I want to go over some things that we're doing because I know Eddie and Ethan kind of know, but I just want to make sure all the council knows what we're doing down on our end of the county. Impact fees, first reading is Tuesday, and that is the impact fee study that the town of Pageland had completed, and it has been approved and moved forward by our planning commission and with the endorsement of the Chamber of Commerce for the full impact fees to go into effect after second reading on the 14th. So that is something that's happening there. I want to thank the sheriff, who's now doing quarterly meetings, meet and greet at the chamber office for the citizens of Pageland to come by and meet the sheriff and the deputies. It's kind of nice to have, I think it was the largest coffee we've ever had, coffee with the chamber at the chamber office. We had them lined out the door to come meet the new sheriff and to meet with the deputies, and I loaned him my office for private meetings with citizens, so it's kind of nice having that in our community right now. New industries. I'm very proud to announce we'd worked very thank you, Ethan, for going with me. This is my Ethan Ford outfit. We have a new metal manufacturing fabricator in Pageland. They looked at Lugoff, they looked at Hartsville, they looked at Camden, I think and we got them a building. The building had not been permitted, so there was a lot of red tape to go through to get the permitting and to get the building ready. They have invested over $500,000 in the project. They are operational. They build custom high-end barn and stall doors. And when I say that, they make stall doors. Their cheapest starts at $2,700 and goes up to almost $5,000 for one stall door. They are all custom, and they're shipping them all over the United States. In fact, they're leaving out in 2 weeks, I think it is, to install 12 in Oklahoma. So their shop is amazing. And through our business-to-business program with our industries in Pageland, they are using Southern Paint and Powder Coating, one of our industries, for their powder coating. And they are getting their wood, because they do this incredible inlaid wood in their doors, and all that is being sourced through Tucker. So we are keeping all of our money down there in our end of the county, which is really nice. I would like to have them added to the industry directory. So, and if you guys would like to come by, I'll take you and introduce them. They're a wonderful, wonderful little company. Ethan Ford and I went out and met with them. Great people. They plan on expanding. They have purchased the lot next to them, and they're also going to be doing custom carports and custom buildings. But it all started right there, and like I said, it was one of those that we've been working on. It's been in the works, but now it's happened, and they are open, and they're doing a great job. Another one thing that our industry's needing, we do have an existing industry luncheon every 2 months, and one of the things that our industries needed was logistics and not all of our industries are large, and so they don't need large transportation, 53-foot cargo. They do not need that. They need small. So we now have worked with one of our industries, and we now have MPS Logistics, LLC, and they do box trucks, lift gates, and they will help our small industries not have to pay the large shipping costs to get the products around. All right, moving forward. Business to business, one of the things that we have done is we have created a catalog, and our businesses can now utilize sources, their supply chains here in the, well, we're doing it down in Pageland right now. I would like to see it go countywide. Titan Stainless just signed a large contract with Screwmatics. They're now getting part of their products made at Screwmatics instead of in North Carolina, so we're now keeping that money within Pageland. Like I said, Arc Pro is using Southern Paint and Powder Coating and Tucker Lumber. We did have a site visit for a hotel, Mary, yesterday, and they did walk the property and take a lot of pictures, and so we are moving forward with bringing a hotel to Pageland. I've met with Chris Axoy. We're working with them on sourcing with Screwmatics and others, so we can keep all of our money, locally. Mike Thomas with NETC is going to their workforce. We're going to go to their plant in Monroe, and we're going to see the actual operation of Axoy, and so we can see how we can now do the workforce training, because it's literally in their backyard. They can walk from the plant to the NETC campus. They have housing issues, as all of our industries at all of our meetings say housing, housing, housing. Mid-range rental is a big problem in Pageland, so I do want to introduce Jermaine Johnson in the back of the room. He is working to bring 20 mid-range rentals to Pageland in forms of quadplexes, and there will be 20 rentals in the $1,200 a month range for our workforce, for our industries. Ethan Ford and I had a meeting with Mike Thomas with NETC. We discussed the non-existent Pageland campus, that there is no classes, where I'm very proud to say Ethan and I went out last week and observed the class. They had a full classroom, and they are moving forward with some of their programs there in Pageland. And Titan, we have a meeting tomorrow with Titan Stainless, with Derek Uten and Tommy Rivers. We are trying to get their new 20,000 square foot addition to their business addition. We do have to go through some zoning because they do need a variance, so we're working on that. But that's really what's going on down in Pageland, and I just want you guys to know that we are working very diligently to keep that into the county growing and keeping the money right here in Chesterfield County.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. We'll move down to item 8, which is the lease purchase ordinance for the sheriff's vehicle. We need a motion to open the public hearing. Motion by Conklin, second by Mr. Ford. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to address council on this ordinance? Anyone wishing to address council on this ordinance? Don't see anyone, so I assume the same two will motion to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. Move down to item 9, lease purchase ordinance, third reading for the lease purchase ordinance on the sheriff's vehicles. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Rivers, second by Mr. Ford. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, 11, there seems to be none. Move down to item 12, the lease purchase bid award for the sheriff's vehicles. Ms. Stanley, would you update us on that?
Yes, sir. There was RFP sent out to 6 local banks, and we received 2. First Citizens Bank with an interest rate of 4.28 and Truist with 4.609. So upon advice from our bond attorney, staff would recommend that the proposal for First Citizen at 4.28 be accepted. So therefore, request that council approve the acceptance of the proposal from First Citizens Bank.
Okay, we need a motion to accept this award.
So moved.
Mr. Rivers, Ms. Burns, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 12B, welcome our sheriff, Mr. Streeter.
Mr. Chairman. Morning. We have two of our dogs. We have a canine Zelda, who is a German Shepherd, 8 years old. We were asking it to be retired and go to the handler, Larry Tucker, Sergeant Larry Tucker. And the other one is a bloodhound named Honey Bun. I did not come up with a name. Honey Bun is a 7-year-old bloodhound going to the owner, Jared Carroll. I would like to say that, you know, the way this works, and I'm sure all of y'all know this, that when they go to the owners and we retire them, we don't pay for anything after that. The owners, they assume all the costs, food, vet fees and everything.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna need to take these separately. So first, is there a motion to retire K-9 Zelda? Mr. Conklin, Smallwood, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. And we need a motion to retire K-9 Honey Bun. Mr. Conklin, Mr. Burns, any discussion?
Are there any retirement benefits to go along?
No, sir.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries, and happy retirement to them. So we'll move down to item 17. Councilman, anyone?
No,
Councilman?
16.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
you skipped. You
skipped. Skip over you there.
skipped.
Steve,
Yeah.
Mr. Eubanks.
I've got a little something. As y'all know, we went in with the municipalities on our comprehensive plan. We met with PD cog week before last to have a little kickoff along with the mayors and everything. The format that we came up with was all the municipalities, or each of the municipalities would pick one person to be on the planning commission committee, and then give the county 4 committee members. So I'm asking y'all as council that, you know, they want this done by the end of this month. So if y'all can think of some people that y'all would like to see on this committee, could y'all get us the names and all that? If they start piling in, then we'll probably have to send it before our planning and zoning committee to help me pick these people. But we're looking for some names of who y'all feel like would be great on this committee. So if y'all could get them as quick as possible, because they're wanting to move and they're ready to set up classes and all that with them. That's one. Is there any questions on that? Okay.
Yeah, I do. With the classes and stuff, how much interaction will these folks have to have? Will this be more than just a meeting every once in a while, or is this like a different circumstance where they have to go through training and then, you know, sometimes it might be hard to get people to go along with being very, very active.
The first initial class that's would be required is a 6-hour class. And PD Cogs agreed. They've got several scheduled. One, they'll do an all-day class. If you want to get it all that first day, they're going to have a class for that. And then they're going to have a couple more that breaks it up in morning sessions and evening sessions. They're going to work with us to get these people trained and done. Once that happens, then this committee will help put together a kind of a format of how often they'll be meeting, and then, you know, if things come up, you know, you'll have special meetings for that. So that's my understanding how it will work.
Thank you.
Do you know if it's different
from a
training? Like if you have someone who already is on a planning commission in town, in municipality, they've already probably gotten their training for the year, whatever. Does it carry over, or is this different training? Do
That
you
I don't know. That's
Okay,
Miss Lindsay's.
okay,
It was my understanding from that meeting that it would carry over.
okay.
Now, I may have misunderstood, but that was my understanding.
And I'd hate to say that with that, but that was me too. But I'd hate to say it and then say, no, you got to take it.
Okay.
And this is gonna be quite an undertaking, so anybody that accepts this role on this commission will need to be a committed individual.
Any more questions on that? If not, I would like to call on Miss Libby, if she would, to introduce our new existing industry person
Well, when we got in this morning, it seemed like Lisa already knew a lot of you, but this is Lisa Gainey. She is our new employee with the Economic Development Office. She's going to be working with existing industry and project coordination and that big basket of anything else we need. Lisa has been with the Parks and Recreation Department in Sherrall for 26 years. And then she was in insurance with Farm Bureau for a year and a half, and now she's been with us for 2 days. And she's been great to work with, and I think it's gonna be just fantastic opportunity for Lisa.
And I appreciate the opportunity, and it's been great, so it feels like a good fit. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a good fit too, so. We've got somebody else in our office now, so maybe Sherry won't have to come every day.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
That's all.
That's all, you through now?
I'm
Okay.
done.
All right. Any council member comments? Yes, sir.
I do. I got a letter I'd like to read. Please bear with me as I read a detailed narrative of the recent events that occurred that I feel need to be brought to light. The following is not indicative of entire council. It only applies to a certain few names at this time who will not be mentioned. As some of you will remember, during my campaign for county council, one of the main topics I addressed was transparency. This is a problem that I continue to run into as a current council member. Approximately 3 weeks ago, I began requesting to be added to the agenda for today's meeting in reference to an idea that I have that animal services, aka the animal shelter's day-to-day operations, could be much more efficient and productive if the county government would allow a private entity or nonprofit to take over this department, instead of it being under the umbrella of the county. This would basically take the politics out of the shelter. It is my personal opinion that in many cases, the government's hand in something isn't necessarily better and is sometimes counterproductive to what can be accomplished by the private sector. My intention is to develop a way to decrease the liability for the taxpayers while fostering the best outcome possible for the animals who end up in the shelter. There are many who will agree on different levels that the current system we have in place is far from adequate, in some cases is just not working. This is evidenced by some recent incidents that I have been made aware of. Just before Christmas, one of our employees was attacked at the shelter by a very aggressive bulldog. This resulted in a serious injury to her hand that has caused a couple of her fingers to not work properly. This dog has been at the shelter for several months, and the staff was well aware of the dog's behavioral problems. Also, the shelter is so full that some animals are living in storage and transport cages due to lack of space, which is no quality of life for any animal. It is my understanding that there have been animals that have become pregnant while housed in our facility, which in turn inflates the current overpopulation problem. Additionally, sometime between January and February of this year, a sheriff's deputy picked up an injured dog and took it to our shelter. The staff at the shelter advised they wouldn't be able to take the dog. Therefore, the sheriff's deputy had to transport it to Lancaster Animal Shelter. These are just a few examples of how our current system has failed our animals, our community, and our employees. For the budget year for our animal shelter is $430,000. Roughly $285,000 is allocated to salaries and benefits for employees. My personal opinion is that funding for the shelter and those who run it should come from private sector by way of those who will be willing to donate money, time, or effort to make the shelter be the best temporary place that it can be for all animals who end up there. This will also allow tax dollars to be used for the core function of government. With the current financial condition of the county, with every tax dollar must be prioritized and reallocated to fill deficits for upcoming budget. With the small talk among officials about the need to raise taxes, it is my position that deep consideration needs to be given as to what is priority to the taxpayers of this county. With all this being said, if you look at today's agenda, you may wonder why this isn't on the agenda for discussion. It has been made very clear to me that some politicians have one thing to say behind closed doors and something different to say on the record. There lies the problem. Me, a sitting council member, was denied the right to bring my idea before the people of this county by way of today's agenda. In today's terminology, I would call it being censored. The only explanation I have been given is that this subject is so sensitive that any discussions on this matter need to be an executive session. I've learned very early in my position that some politicians care more about their personal future as a public servant than doing what is right by their constituents. Writing this summary is my way of combating the censorship and living up to my promise and transparency to the people I took an oath to represent. On another note, just this week, I was contacted by Representative Yao regarding a written request submitted by the county that asked for $5 million for the installation of a gas line to be installed to the industrial park located in Chesterfield. I was stunned to say the least, and I was quick to respond that I was not aware of anything regarding this matter being discussed by council nor voted on by council that would lead to this request. I immediately began asking questions about the origin of this request to our administrator. And after confirmation and receipt of a copy of the letter, I discovered that it was sent by a member of this council without my knowledge, although the document represented that it was the request of the county. This letter of request was never presented to council for discussion, vote, or approval. When I approached the council member who facilitated this letter this past Monday, their response was simply that they didn't think the request needed to go before council. When on the other hand, a simple letter of support for a community-wide request for the installation of a traffic light at Love's Truck Stop in Paisley recently warranted being discussed and voted on by county council before the letter would be issued. Therefore, you can understand why I question why a $5 million earmark with the Ways and Means Committee for the state does not carry the same weight as any other issue that requires the majority's support by the way of vote from all council members. With all that being said, it is sad to say that it appears to be being politically correct is far more important to some folks in public office than being transparent and showing the taxpayers what problems we face and why certain decisions must be made. I have a few more topics on my agenda to relate to transparency and keeping the public informed. I would like to see the county council to vote on changing the time of the meetings to evenings in order to give more of the taxpayers a chance to attend, along with video and audio recording of the committee meetings, since this is where most of the business really takes place. If you look at your agenda, you won't see the two committee meetings scheduled for right after the regular council meeting today. These meetings are open to the public. The first one is a road department meeting, and the second one is an animal services committee meeting where I plan to present my ideas. The Animal Services meeting has the possibility of going into executive session if certain members get their way. Hopefully, some of you will be able to stay for the committee meetings to gain greater insight as to how things work. I will end this letter with a quote from Dr. Patton. Leadership comes with tough decisions that may require you to put your morals and ethics on the line. This is where many leaders fail. Instead of making the tough decisions, they succumb to the pressure and take the easy way out. And also to those of you on county council who found it necessary to remark to me personally that you need to listen and learn before you speak, or you just can't have a candid conversation in public, or you need to dial it down, you are just fueling the fire inside me to dig deeper, to make a difference, and become more determined to change the good old boy system into a see-through cover to the book of politics in Chesterfield County. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Does anybody else have any comments? Don't forget the Sandblast Rally is this weekend. Are they doing the ride-alongs?
As far as I know, they're doing, they're coming in, some of them are coming in today, but the ride-alongs are supposed to take place Friday afternoon because of the weather. I'm not sure if they're gonna be able to do it or not, but Andrew said if anybody would like to come out, you know, you're certainly welcome to text him and ask him about the ride-alongs.
Okay, all right. Thank you. There is a need to go into executive session. Mr. Ruffman, would you please address this?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That would be pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 30-4-70, subsection A2. That is to enter an executive session for discussion of negotiation pursuant to proposed contractual arrangements, proposed sale or purchase of property, receipt of legal advice that would be subject to attorney-client privilege, and that's regarding the following three items. 1, contractual negotiations concerning emergency medical and ambulance services. 2, sale of the Leopard Building. And 3, governing boards of fire departments. And council may take action upon any or all of those matters after exiting executive session.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to enter executive session?
So move.
Mr. Conklin, Mr. Rivers, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We will take a 10-minute break and then go into executive session. out of executive session. While we were in executive session, no motions were made and no votes were taken. At this time, we'll entertain a motion for RFP for the ambulance services. Need a motion for that?
So I make a motion that we authorize our staff to send out RFPs in regards to ambulance services after receiving feedback from council members within the next day.
Motion by Ms. Anderson, second by Mr. Conklin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And then we need a motion for the governing boards of the fire departments for the authorized staff to send out the letters.
Yes, sir.
Motion by Mr. Conklin,
Second.
second by Ms. Anderson. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I think that takes care of everything, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Mr. Miller? Second. Ms. Burns, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.